This is an episode that I really believe is going to change a bunch of your lives, maybe all of your lives. I'm telling you, you guys have to listen to me on this. You guys have to suspend disbelief for this one, because I think when I start talking, you're going to say, I don't think so, Jen, as opposed to most episodes where you're like, Jen is speaking nothing but truth, and I'm taking notes because Jen knows everything. You might be skeptical on this one, but this is about how a lot of the aches and pains and illnesses and things like that that occasionally crop up are because your nervous system is messed up by your crazy thoughts. Now, for some of us, this happens like 24/7 because the number of crazy thoughts is just endless. It's like a tsunami of crazy thoughts every minute of every day. So that is some of us. But even you guys who are fairly sane and don't have a constant barrage of overly analytical, insane thinking patterns, occasionally this crops up for you guys too. And knowing what I am about to tell you will really revolutionize your life. I'm dead serious about this. And I've even come up with a term for it that I've been talking to some of my friends and my college-age daughter. I've been talking to her about, I call it funds. But for this podcast, we'll have to call it JUNS. The acronym, the reason we're changing that acronym, will go with Jacked Up Nervous System. And funds is let's say it's fired up. Yeah. Fired up. Okay, we'll go with funds. Fired up nervous system. Sometimes I might find a different word that begins with F to describe it. But basically, it's when you have got some thoughts that are rolling around in your subconscious and you have not processed them because these thoughts are not okay to you. These are not thoughts that normal, polite people such as yourself think. For those of you who are people of faith, these are thoughts that a good Catholic would never think something like this. So you just ignore it. So you don't process it. But these little thought fragments are rolling around in the back of your mind and sending danger signals to your nervous system. So out of the blue, you have horrible back pain, or a migraine, or ankle pain, or an old college injury from 20 years ago suddenly is causing you pain. A lot of times this is because of funds. This, again, I made up this term, funds, fired up nervous system. A lot of times it's because you have unprocessed thoughts that are just zinging your nervous system with messages of danger constantly. And and of course that makes sense, that if your nervous system is just constantly hearing danger, 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 but you're not bringing this to the surface and processing it, your body is going to go haywire. It's going to get fired up. And I am living proof that this happens. I deal with this all the time. And I've just had so many different pains, illnesses, things like that. You guys know I was in really serious, debilitating chronic pain for on and off for about, 8 years. And it was, it's been on and off my whole life, but it got really bad for about 8 years. And it's when I discovered this, I largely got out of that kind of pain, but it does flare up occasionally. I think probably because of the nature of my work. One can understand some stories about this later in the show. One can understand how a person's nervous system would send signals of danger where it's like, hey, you're going to have a room full of people staring at you. They have spent a lot of time and a lot of money to be here for the sole reason that you have promised that you will make them laugh at a rate of 2 or 3 times per minute, every minute, for 60 minutes. And if you do not deliver this, they will hate you and feel like you sold them a false bill of goods and you have wasted not only their money, but their time. you see how a nervous system could be like, let's not do that. How about, what do you think about a migraine headache? How about a stomach ache? How about some chronic fatigue to get you to not be on that stage? And so that will be the main topic today. This idea of how your unprocessed thoughts that you're not allowing to come up because they are either irrational, they're inappropriate, or like they're not even something you actually believe, but it's just kind of a thought fragment that's up in there that hasn't been processed. How this can send signals of danger to your nervous system and cause, again, for some of you, maybe it's just twice a year. You've got a bad headache out of the blue and you don't know why. And then for some of us, this is a daily battle because there's a lot of craziness going on up in there. That is the main topic. We will talk about that. I've got some really interesting podcast clips from a podcast that is my latest hyperfixation. As usual, we get to the main topic in the second half of the show. Using the term second half very loosely. Sometimes it's in like the last 3 minutes of the show, but it's always there. You'll always find it at the end. And actually, the main topic is related to one of the things we'll talk about here in just a second in one of the setup topics. Is a lot of you tell me that you have a fear of public speaking. You're afraid to get up on stage in front of people. And I've got a story for you today that I think is really going to show you guys how well-founded that fear is. Don't do it. It's a horror, and it can go worse than you think, and it can be 1,000 times more mortifying than you could ever dream, and it could lead you to a type of situation where you're like, I need to change my name. It is time. There are some saints. There's some like holy people back in the day that what they did is they left society and they took on a religious name and they lived in a cave. And they lived off of, they'd have like a hunk of cactus for dinner or something. And that's it. And they ate some crickets and stuff. And that's the only option for me now because I have mortified myself in front of a large group of people. We will discuss that with video so that my 5 YouTube viewers can enjoy watching the horror of what played out last week at my Phoenix show. Speaking of which, we've got, I'm trying to think, when will this episode be published? Because we're pre-taping tonight, Chicago. Tonight. I am in Chicago tonight. And then after that, we are doing... the poltergeist story. Oh, that's a cat hissing. Okay, normally we have the cats meowing.
Fun.
Okay, good. Well, it's not a podcast episode unless we have a very strange noise while I'm trying to say something. Right? Okay, tonight is Chicago. Rosemont, come out if you're in the area. Kansas City, Omaha, Des Moines, Buffalo, Royal Oak, Columbus. And I've got some dates. I think I was supposed to announce them weeks ago. And I can't remember what the third one is. Actually, or the second one. Listen, sneak preview. I'm coming to Virginia Beach. I don't think I have any fans there. I swear there are going to be 2 people at that show. I don't think I have any name recognition in Virginia Beach. I'm not even going to play the game of like, get your tickets now before they sell out. Like there's not even a chance. Okay, jfcomedytour.com. But I do actually have some name recognition in these other cities. So you will want to get your tickets. And Caitlin, play our lovely jingle.
She was dropped by her agent and manager on the same day. Iconic. Now she's entered her villain era and she's back on tour anyway. Jen Fulwiler. News gonna drop. Jen Fulwiler. But she just can't be stopped. Jen Fulwiler. The show is gonna pop. Takes at jfcomedytour.com. jfcomedytour.com.
jfcomedytour.com. Welcome to the Jen Fulwiler Show. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That is being a hot girl boss or hot boy boss for my legions of male listeners who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. We publish new episodes every single Wednesday morning. Our lovely producer is Caitlin White. And I finally found the proper use for my Patreon. That is talking trash about all of the things I can't say publicly. I do occasional, not on any regular schedule, live chats that we call the State of the Dumpster Fire address, and then I also make those replays available. So you get instant access to all that. There are a couple different levels of the Patreon. There's the lower level where you get the after party After each show, there's a higher level where you get all of that, plus my weekly Village Hustle tips, which is basically how I make my life and career work, all of the stuff that works for me. But you get access to the State of the Dumpster Fire trash talking sessions, no matter what level you join at. So patreon.com/thisisjen. That is patreon.com/thisisjen. And in the last one, I had actual screenshots of money that I lost on a truly horrible deal that it's one of those, like, if you're that stupid to strike a deal like that, maybe you deserve to lose those thousands of dollars. I mean, I was like on the live, like, look, do the math. Look at how much money I lost. Patreon.com/thisisjen. I want to begin, before we talk about what a disaster I am. Let's balance this show with some good news. Put up the graphic, Caitlin, of the Nate Bargatze thing. Look at this. There is an article out that says 5 comedians like Nate Bargatze who make everyone laugh. First person in the image. Moi. I needed that because I follow all of the people on there. They are all super funny. And what's funny is I actually didn't see myself on there at first. And so, I was starting like the bitter engine going, like, why am I never on the list? I'm like, well, yes, like Angela Johnson, obviously hilarious. Like all these guys, they're so good. I think that's Greg Warren on the. See, now I can't see, but I looked at all these guys, like really good. And I will say, all of the comedians on this list, they are very good, and they all, like me, like Nate, we all do clean comedy. So that's what this list was about. Like, if you like his style of comedy that you can watch with more of a general audience, if your grandma's around, you can pull up Nate's comedy special, you can pull up any of these comedy specials, and you can pull up mine. So that was a big honor. That was very exciting to be on that list. And let's really share that, just to make sure that my haters see that. I thought that was really cool to be on that. So let's talk about what happened at my Phoenix show. So, guys, it was a great show. And it was also, it was just a huge, I felt blessed at that event, because there's so many cool things that happen in life that you could not plan yourself. I'm always telling you, if you're, know where you are going generally in life, but then count on God to open doors, because that's the only way it works. If you think that you can perfectly control every step of every door that opens, you can't. We've done a running thing on this podcast. We've talked about Caitlin and her love of racing. Caitlin could not have planned, like, oh, hey, let's have Jen's next comedy special filming be a disaster, so that she's got to contact all these people to try to find a film crew. And there's a film crew in Minneapolis that happens to be in Austin at the F4 races, and Jen needs to talk to them. So now I'll get connected with all of these racing people. That's from what
would have never guessed.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you think Caitlin set that up? No. That would be funny, though, if you were like actually blocking all of my efforts to get my next special film. You're like, I just feel it. I feel it that there's a film crew in Minneapolis who will just so happen to be in Austin the week that you connect with it. That was episode 230. You can listen to that whole story. But basically, I think that's a great example of how know the goal, stay open, and take steps towards what you're trying to do in life. But just understand, a lot of this is just waiting for God to open doors. So an example of this from Phoenix, and yes, I will get to the horror of what happened. I mean, Caitlin's dying. She just found out about it. She's dying. I'm probably intentionally prolonging this because I can't think about it. But I will say, okay, so Andrew Stanley, who I think is one of the funniest comedians working today. Speaking of, if you like Nate Bargatze, Andrew Stanley's your guy. He's filming his comedy special in Atlanta. They keep adding shows. They keep selling out. I'll just tell you, if you're in Atlanta, he added a third show to his special filming in February. I'm telling you, this special is going to be the next big thing. He's the next Nate Bargatze, and you should go see him while you still can. And you can be like, well, I heard of him really kind of before anyone else. So anyway, I'm a huge fan of his. He also does clean comedy. I took my teens to see him when he was in Austin. They still walk around quoting him. I mean, hysterical. Okay, so he just so happened to be in Phoenix at the exact same 2 days that I was in Phoenix. And by the way, when I was in Greenville, he happened to be in Greenville too. He doesn't live in either of these cities. Neither do I. Maybe he's stalking me. Maybe he's like, Jen is just such an excellent comedian. I just need to. But no, okay, so we happen to be in Greenville at the same time. Now we happen to be in Phoenix at the same time. So he was performing at a conference for mega church pastors. And he's like, hey, I just saw your promo that you're in Phoenix. Any chance you're getting there the night before? Because we have a conference. You can do comedy for mega church pastors. I mean, can you imagine me? I mean, that is one demographic I just don't have a lot of experience with. I went straight shot atheist to Catholic. So, I mean, I'd probably do okay performing at an atheist convention. Certainly the Catholic ghetto and I have a mind meld, but, man, I mean, that Protestant, like, maybe I shouldn't say mega church pastors. I don't know if that is how they self-identify. I don't want to mischurch them, misdenomination them. But that was just what I'm trying to say is it wasn't for like heavy Presbyterian, like so Presbyterian they're almost Anglican. Like it wasn't that crowd. And I just don't know that crowd. So I'd been flying all day and I was exhausted. And so I got on stage and it went so well, but it was the most different crowd I've ever been in front of. Even more different than like midnight Austin bar shows. Even more different, like Caitlin knows, like the Vulcan in downtown, like the grungiest club with, all the young hipsters. Like it was more different than doing comedy at the Vulcan, Caitlin. Wow. But good. I mean, it actually messed up my set time because they were laughing so hard and so long at my jokes. I was like, gosh, okay, I'm not going to get to like half of this because I keep having to hold. So it was great, but it was so interesting. Like, I made an offhanded comment where I just said, I hadn't told them yet that I was Catholic, but I had made references to drinking, that's a little bit of we're getting into some pretty salacious territory there. And, it's funny. I had run it by Andrew, the pastor who was at this non-denominational church. I said, "Can I reference drinking?" And they're like, "Oh, I think so." I mean, Andrew referenced beer in his set. He did it, and you know what? Everyone they were cool. And I was like, okay, cool. And it's one of those things where I know my material so well, I don't think through it. And as I'm on stage, I'm like, wow, every single joke is about being drunk, drinking. Because it's a certain, I was trying to, I don't know. That's not my set. Like when you guys come out to my shows, I do a different set than I did here. But I was like, wow. Because I do have a couple that have a little bit of sexual innuendo, and I wanted to skip those. And I'm like, oh, this is just all, wow, okay. Wow, I forgot what that punchline is. Oh, another drinking punchline. And so I guess that was sort of pushing limits. And then at one point, I was like, well, in case you haven't guessed from all the drinking references, I'm Catholic. That got maybe the biggest laugh I have ever gotten on stage. I honestly think I have maybe never felt a pop. Like they call that a pop when you get like a big burst of laughter. I have maybe never felt a pop like that ever. And what's funny is I didn't really think of that as a joke. It was just a throwaway comment, but they just thought that was so funny. I guess because they have tension about both Catholics and their relationship to alcohol and alcohol generally. So when I combined those three things, it was like the perfect storm. And that was a very big pop of laughter. And so they were just the sweetest crowd. They were so nice. And I admit I did have a block on, I had always said, I can do very secular, atheistic, hipster crowds, no problem. Any age range, any demographic. I was telling Caitlin the other day, I said, I think I can make almost any audience laugh now. I feel very confident. Put me up in front of anyone and I'm good. But I think I said this to you, Caitlin, or I said it to Joe or something. I was like, maybe not Protestants though, because I don't know. I love them. I just I don't understand their references. So that was actually a really big breakthrough for me. That set was just hot fire. And I'd never had a chance to really do comedy in front of a crowd like that before. Okay, I need to stop stalling. All right, here's what happened. So I manufactured a little, here's a God moment, because I just don't even want to talk about what happened. The next night at my show, hit the sound effect for Jen just manufactured a lesson there because she didn't want to talk about what happens next. The next night was my show at Stand Up Live. It's a very famous club. They actually had a highlight reel before I went on stage of all of these big names. Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz. Speaking of Nate, I think they had Nate saying this too. They had basically any comedian you've ever heard of. They had clips of them saying, "Oh, Stand Up Live in Phoenix is it's legit. It's really." And I so appreciate everyone who came out, because I'm stalling again. Okay, I'll just say it's downtown, and there was a Sabrina Carpenter concert at the stadium next door. I was wondering, I was like, is everyone in Phoenix a hot blonde girl? This is crazy. And then I realized, oh, it's a Sabrina Carpenter concert. Okay. So I should have done a late show for the Sabrina Carpenter girls. Been listen, I'm the ghost of Hot Girl Future. You guys need to come out to my show and hear what I have to say. So it was just great. A nice big crowd. We got my people downtown on Sabrina Carpenter show night with all the traffic headaches and stuff that come with that. So prestigious club, I want to make a good impression. And I think I did. The show went great. Andrew Stanley stopped by since he was in town. My opener, Greg, he was good. And so I do my set, friends, and it was great. And let me describe the stage of Stand Up Live in Phoenix for you. If you are in the audience facing the stage, they've got a screen that says Stand Up Live. There are curtains on the left, and there are curtains on the right. Behind one of those sets of curtains is the door to exit the stage. It goes directly into the green room. So you walk from the green room out of the door and onto the stage, and then that's how you exit. And I guess they wouldn't want an unsightly door just behind the performer the whole time, so they cover it with curtains. Far be it from me to tell a famous and prestigious club how to run their comedy club, but I might suggest I'm maybe there should be an exit sign. Maybe for your neurodivergent performers who have no idea where they are spatially or even chronologically at any moment. Some of us float through life in a delusional ether where we don't know where we are. That's not in our mind. And I just think that playing this shell game of where is the door to the exit of the stage is not fair to performers. Now, if the lovely management of Stand Up Live were here, they might say, well, counterpoint, Jen, no one else has ever had that problem. Shell game is not an apt analogy because we don't move the door while you're on stage. I'm actually not convinced. I'm telling you, I walked out a door that ceased to exist while I was on stage. I'm telling you, I really had it in my mind that I knew where the door was. And boy, was I wrong. But why do we have to have matching curtains? One that like you're a winner, like you chose the right curtain, you get to go back to the green room and not be humiliated. And then the other set of curtains, you get a brick wall. You get a brick wall with a room full of people staring at you. So we have video, JF on YouTube.com. Lucky for us, this is all on video. Now, you can't actually see me walking into the wall. Mercifully, I walked off camera for that. But Caitlin, get ready to pause it because there's so much here. This is a cornucopia of neurodivergent embarrassment. So what on earth? Okay, sorry, the poltergeist door is acting up again. Okay, so I'm on stage. I deliver my closing joke. It kills. Everyone's like, yeah. I'm like, thank you, Phoenix. You've been amazing. And I choose the wrong curtain. I'm telling you, they moved that door. There was not a brick wall behind that door. Okay, whatever. Let's just JF on YouTube.com. Let's play the video. This is episode 231. If you want to look this up on my YouTube channel. Okay, play it, Caitlin.
Thank you guys so much, Phoenix. You've been amazing. Thank you so much.
Nothing can go wrong from here. Nothing. Hey, bye, guys. I'm a pro. Stand up live. Are you impressed yet? Oh, danger. Pause it, Caitlin. Pause it. All right, so this is the point. Just off camera, I walk into a wall. I was so convinced that there was going to be a door behind that curtain. With all of my heart, that proves manifesting's not real because with all of my heart, everything within me, my energy said door is behind that wall. I just think for a minute about the horror that you would experience. All of these people, there's a literal spotlight is on me. A literal spotlight is on me. And I just walked into a wall. What do you do next, friends? Because here's the thing. I'm so neurodivergent. I so don't know where I am in space and time that I didn't know where the door was. Because here's the thing. You think you have felt anxiety. You think you have felt adrenaline in your life. You don't know adrenaline coursing through your veins like when you walk into a brick wall that very much should have had a door and all of these people are staring at you. So I could not think clearly. I didn't really have a sense of, I was very fixated on the door was there. I swear this is where the door was. So when I turned around, I thought maybe there are stairs. Are there stairs? Because a lot of comedy clubs are like that. Most comedy clubs, you walk downstairs around a corner and then you go into a hallway and that's where the green room is. So I thought, okay, there must be stairs. But then I was like, okay, so here, just play like a second because I turn around, I come back to the, pause it when I get back to the mic. People are still talking. Listen, now they're getting concerned. Wait till I grab the mic. Okay, pause it. What I'm doing here in this moment is I'm like making a joke to the crowd, but what I'm actually doing is scanning. I'm like, where are the stairs? I was like, maybe I should just do a stage dive. Maybe maybe that would save face. Like with my, like the little Catholic moms with their Village Hustle t-shirts in the front row. But I'm like, no, this was intentional. Stage dive. It's like we're at Lollapalooza in 1998. Let's go. That's what I was doing. And I also want you to know. We're going to take a moment of silence to prepare yourselves for this. I want you to know that the only reason that this podcast episode is happening today and why I still have any sort of public presence and why I did not just disappear on November 13th of 2024. Like nobody ever heard from Jen Fulwiler after that moment. I want you to know that the only reason that my life and career have continued from this moment is because that mic was on. I knew I was taking a risk this is all in slow motion in my mind. I knew I was taking a risk as I headed back to the mic. Usually the sound guy turns off the mic when you're done so that it doesn't pick up extraneous noise. I knew that there was a 50-50 chance that I would go to make a silly little joke with the crowd that is staring at me, not being able to get off the stage, and that the mic wouldn't be on. And if that had happened, that would have been it. That would have been it. That no more public presence for Jen Fulwiler. Whatever happened to Jen Fulwiler? We don't know. But there are rumors that it had to do with her Phoenix show. But nobody talks about it anymore because it was just a level of embarrassment that no one is really ready to process here. So, okay, so here I make a comment to the crowd because all I'm doing is buying time. I'm buying time here to figure out where the exit is. Okay, play like 3 more seconds, Caitlin.
I really can't figure out where the exit was. Is it on that side? Does this go on?
Okay, stop. Okay, this is a perfect shot. Look at this. Okay, look. All of my fans are pointing. Listen, I'm telling you that I need to make this the new cover of this podcast. I mean, I like the picture we have now. It was taken by Casey Nelson, excellent photographer. It's the picture of me in a chair with the red jacket on. Caitlin, what do you think? I mean, I think this might need to be the new cover of my podcast. Me holding a microphone, looking deeply confused, and all of these fingers are pointing because everyone else knows. They act like it's easy. Okay. So all these know-it-alls in the front row are like, well, it's the door you came out of, as if that's easy. Okay, look, just because every single person at Phoenix Stand Up Live knew where the exit was does not mean that is something that should be clear. Just because everyone was like, you came out of that. It's right there. It's right there. That does not mean that I should have known that, because I'm telling you, it's a shell game. They moved the door, and I don't know why all of these people in the audience that you see here at jfonyoutube.com, I don't know why all of these people knew where the moved Harry Potter door was that did not previously exist in this place. So there is, thank goodness, there is a TV with sound in the green room. My opener, Greg Freiler, good man. He saw this playing out in the green room, and he saw this is a woman in distress. She needs to be rescued. So now we will watch the end of it. Greg comes out to show me where I could have just followed the fingers of the 10 people pointing. Greg comes out to show me where the door is. Play it, Caitlin. Play it through again. I want you to hear the dip, the sort of, you can hear like people were original, like, yeah, clapping, and then there's this dip of like, oh, what is happening? So I will not interrupt it this time. Just play it all the way through.
Thank you guys so much, Phoenix. You've been amazing. Thank you so much.
I know what you're gonna do. No, not that way.
I literally can't figure out where
These poor people have to keep clapping because what else are you gonna do? By the way, we're coming up on my Omaha show. Last time I was at the Omaha Comedy Club. You know what? This was also at the end of the show. I did a great closer. I was actually getting a standing ovation, which has never happened at a comedy show before. Fell off the stage.
What?
Smack.
I didn't know that.
Smack. Well, we have audio, not video of that. I don't have it handy. I'll play it at another show. So I think I need to stop thinking I am out of danger when I'm done with the show. So Greg comes on stage and rescues me. And let me tell you, friends, if Greg had not opened that door, I would still be on that stage. It would be like some other comedian right now would be doing a set. You know, it'd be like Chris Rock is up there and he's like, I don't know who this white woman is who won't leave. And they'd be like, yeah, she can't figure out how to get out of here. She's like, I'm just like pushing on curtains. And because I was very fixated, I swear the door was to my left. I swear it was. And they moved it. And I will go to my grave being like, this is a Harry Potter situation. They moved, that door is not always there. I'm telling you that Greg appeared through a multi-dimensional portal. He did. I'm telling you. Oh, play the I also slowed this down because this is how it felt to me. This is and those of you listening on audio, this is, I didn't add, this is just the actual audio slowed down. Just imagine. Watch me, they slow down. Emerged from the curtains. Oh, that was a wall.
What?
Uh-oh. That was a wall. That wasn't a door. Oh, yeah. Doesn't that happen in Harry Potter where like some people try to go through the magic door and then they slam into the column? Doesn't that I'm not that familiar with the movies.
I'm not
Is
that
I know.
familiar,
Okay. Well,
so-
but I think that happens.
So, yeah,
And that's exactly what happened to me. Just to let you guys know, there actually had been a door there, but the multi-dimensional portal closed while I was on stage. So that is really unfortunate. It's just, I hate it when that happens. So come out to my shows so that you can show me how to get off the stage. I'm telling you, pull up that picture, the screenshot. This picture of me looking over my shoulder, very confused, and multiple people pointing. This is a Renaissance painting. I mean, we have to make this the new cover of my podcast, new profile picture, because this is symbolic of everything. It's symbolic of, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I am. I just float through life on clouds of delusion, and you guys help me. It's like I was saying in the previous episode or the one before, when like people who I know pretty well, like Nikki, who runs Columbus Personal Assistant, she's like, hey, I'm Nikki. It's like, I know, like we're buds. Like I know who Nikki is, but she knows that like I need help getting through life. And, and Caitlin should start doing that when she shows up for the podcast taping, like, hey, I'm Caitlin. We've been texting all day today like we do most days. And so I just want to let you know who I am. You guys helping me as I am holding a microphone and being very confused is just, I mean, this is everything. This is my whole career. This is my whole career in one picture. Expect to see this picture a lot more. Caitlin, you often, to clear up space, you wisely delete media from this program that we use to record the podcast. Don't delete this one, because I think we will be seeing more of it, because this is the Renaissance painting that is my career. It's just perfect. It's everything. It's everything. Okay. So that let's transition into, let's see, where are we on time? Is
38.
38. Okay. Yeah, all right. I'm just going to say something briefly to get us into the main topic, which is about how having funds can really jack up your nervous system and make you have pain, everything from chronic pain to just, the occasional back spasm or something like that. You guys blame way too much on getting older. This is a little thing that has become popular. I don't know if people have always done this, but the day after you guys turn like 24, any ache and pain you have, you're like, it's because I'm getting older. I swear like 90% of the things that you guys blame on aging is not from getting older. And I was thinking about this because my mom doesn't do that. My mom, who has evidently discovered the fountain of youth, my mom, who turns 80 next year. If you saw her, you'd think she's in her 60s. So don't picture, when you picture my mom, like whatever you think of an 80-year-old, picture a 60-year-old, and that's much more accurate. I told you my trainer was like, hey, do you want to see this exercise that I have your mom do? And I'm thinking like, oh, well, that will be nice to see the little, I should have known. Like, I couldn't do it. It was like something from like you're sitting, I forget which one it was. It was like you're sitting and you get up without using your hands. I'm like, well, if you had a forklift, I could maybe do this. Man, my mom can just do it. And I swear, okay, so this, hit the seamless transition sound effect. This podcast, I mean, I'm telling you, God is my producer. It's just that the way this stuff is like woven together. I didn't even realize how well this fits with the main topic. My mother does not hold on to all these little stressful thoughts like, I'm getting older. Oh, I have a pain in my finger. It's because I'm getting older. And now, on the other hand, she doesn't deny reality. Like, I don't think that she is going to like try to be an Olympic gold medalist figure skater. She recognizes that as she approaches 80, maybe that's not like the right career for her to start. Like she might say, now that I'm in my later 70s, I don't think I will start being a trapeze artist. That might not be something that would make sense for me. So it's not like she denies her age. She's not trying to act like she's 20, but she just doesn't blame daily little ache and pain things on being older, and she just doesn't fixate on them. It's just like, okay, like she broke her toe dancing at one time. She dances for like 5 hours at a time, 3 nights a week. She goes to the dance hall with her friends, and I know some people who at the time were in their 20s who would go to the same country western dance hall, and my mother would outdance them. They would need to take a seat, and my mom, well, she was only 76 at the time and would be out there. And so one time she didn't wear her cowboy boots. Someone stepped on her toe and it was broken. And so that hurt. She took a week off from dancing, but again, she didn't like perseverate on it. And mainly she didn't fear it. There wasn't fear. There wasn't like, oh, I'm in my 70s and I have a broken bone. Oh, my dancing career is over. Like, I'll never be able to have fun with my friends again. None of that. It was just, ouch, that hurt. It'll heal. And she thought nothing of it. It is not a coincidence that my mother thinks like that. And she has more energy and vibrancy than a lot of 40-year-olds I know. And frankly, she looks better than a lot of 50, 60 years. I mean, Caitlin sees my mom, like you wouldn't, like your mind wouldn't comprehend it. If I said she's 80, you'd be like, stop. Like it's not true. It's just not true. That she defies age because of her thinking patterns. And some people might say, well, it's genetics. I don't know that it is. Neither one of her parents made it to age 70. Wow. They were not, her mother was not in particularly good health. Her father died of a heart, like a longstanding heart issue. I mean, I do not necessarily think my mom has amazing genes for that sort of thing. But I truly believe it is mostly her mindset. And on the other hand, this is, a delicate thing to say, but it's one of the reasons I'm doing this episode, because I think it matters. My dad had the exact opposite thinking patterns, like catastrophizing, being super stressed out about anything that happened, but certainly physical ailments. He'd really perseverate on it. Like, what does this mean? Finding the meaning in it, spending all this time researching it, this could be dire. This could be serious. And he was always like that. And, so he died of an internal bleeding issue, and he did have legitimate health problems. I'm not suggesting that he would not have had some of these things going on, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts that his general not being well physically in his 70s could have been better. It could have been largely ameliorated if he had different thinking patterns. If he had known, frankly, what I'm telling you in this podcast episode, I truly believe that my father would have lived much longer, many years longer. Again, I'm not saying that he would have had zero of the medical issues that he battled. He had Lynch syndrome. It's a genetic, it's also called HNPCC. It's a genetic thing and it causes problems. So certainly he would have had some of the issues that he had. But I think that they were made vastly worse by his high stress thinking patterns that gave him funds. What did we say? Fired up. Yes, fired up nervous system. The diagnosis, the term that I have just completely made up. But I say that with all respect and with all sincerity. I feel, I almost feel like I have a duty when I think about, my father's memory and how very, very, very much I wish we had had more years with him. I almost feel like I have a duty that if this, if what I'm saying next about high tension thinking patterns and how they can impact you physically, if it even helps one person, or in the case of my YouTube views, 2 people, if both of my YouTube viewers are helped by this, honestly, it was worth it, because I really do kind of feel a sense of duty to share this, because not only has it had a massive impact on my life, but it had a massive, I think, negative impact. Doing the converse had a massive negative impact on my father's life. Oh, and by the way, I think my husband Joe is another good example. So our son, who is in college, went swimming. Yeah, I guess he went to the swim workout that my husband does, and my son was like, I can't keep up. Like, Joe is in his 50s. You wouldn't know. Who was it? Let's see. There was someone, I forget who someone at the dinner party. Oh, the dinner party. Okay, that's, from last week. Listen to last week's episode. The first woman to arrive, we were just chatting with her, and she was like, I thought you were like late 30s. Like, my husband seems vastly younger than he is. He is on my mom's track as well, just in robust health, doing better physically in some ways than his son. Just, not dragged down by physical problems. And I'm telling you, 90% mental. Looking at his parents, he does not necessarily come from people who just had no physical problems. I'm telling you, it is his mindset. So I have found ways to think more like my mom, think more like Joe, and less like my dad, because naturally I have a personality like my father's, like perseverating, fixating, overthinking, overanalyzing, lots of fear, very, very fear-based personality. And that is my natural tendency. And my whole life is one long quest to overcome that, because for multiple decades, it ruined my life. My fear-based thinking patterns really ruined my life, both physically and mentally. And so that is what we are talking about in the main topic. Don't forget Patreon. I was actually talking about this on the Patreon episode. What was the most recent one as of this recording, Caitlin? 60?
I think it was still 65.
Oh yeah, it's the one that I called Yogurt and Journaling. Yeah. I really need to update that title. I went through this in much more detail, including getting a little more personal than I even intended to in that episode, where I was doing the process that I'm about to tell you guys about. I was doing it kind of live on Patreon while I was recording, and I actually hit on some kind of deep stuff there through this exercise. And I thought about deleting it, because I was like, okay, well, this got a little more personal than I intended it for it to, but I am lazy, so I decided, I was like, I'm not re-recording this, I don't care. So it is up. It's the Yogurt and Journaling exercise, but there's a lot more detail on this. And of course, you get all the other good stuff on Patreon. Patreon.com/thisisjen, where you sign up, and the minute you sign up, you get instant access to all of this. Okay, so this brings us to the main topic about how your thinking patterns at some point are going to cause you physical pain. For some of us, it could be straight up chronic pain. It could be something that we live with for years. But for a lot of you, it'll probably just be occasional. I'm thinking of some of my friends who I know listen to this podcast, and there's a real split. One person I'm thinking of in particular, you need this like immediately. Like, please listen. And then another person, I'm like, she's actually pretty sane. I don't know why she listens to this podcast. She's pretty sane. But so for someone with that personality type, probably just 2 or 3 times a year, you might have like a really bad back pain or like a headache or just kind of a malaise that you can't shake. But it will happen to all of you. I'm telling you, 99.9% of people listening, this will apply to you at some point. The only question is whether it is ruining your life every hour of every day or just a few times a year. So definitely stick with me on this. So this is, I've referenced this before. There's a concept called TMS. There are few, there's not agreement on what that stands for, but let's call it tension mind-body syndrome. It was developed by Dr. Sarno, and when I say doctor, I do mean he was an MD doctor, not from like the Austin School of Ayahuasca. He was an actual MD doctor. He was trying to help people who had back pain, and he found that a lot of these people, they weren't helped by surgery. He might find something like a slip disc or whatever, and they do the surgery, and the person would feel better for like a week, but then they'd be in this horrific pain still. And he just didn't see a 1-to-1 correlation between medical treatment and the pain feeling better. And there have since been studies on this of, there was a knee study where they took, I should have found that. You can look up the study. I was reading it the other day that they took people with knee pain. They did surgery on half of them. And then on the other half, they made an incision, but they did not actually do the surgery. And the pain, I forget what it was. It was like there was an equal amount of pain resolution in the people who actually had the surgery versus the people who thought they had the surgery. Now, when people hear this, they often say, "Oh, okay, well that's placebo effect. That's psychosomatic." Kind of pain. Actually, this is a little bit beyond that. And this is one of the most important points. The pain that we are about to talk about is not in your head. The pain that we are about to talk about is not in your head. It is not fake pain that you are making up. And that's so important because that would be like insane and embarrassing if it were like the chronic pain that almost made me, like I almost had to leave SiriusXM before I actually did, because of the severe, terrible pain that I was in. That was not in my head. It was, my nerves were on fire. This was absolutely real. But what your body can impact your physical condition. And we know this is true because imagine if you had like a stressful, let's say a public speaking event tomorrow. Let's say tomorrow you knew that you were going to have to give a speech at Stand Up Live where the doors move, where you're on stage, and you were going to have to be literally under a spotlight with a microphone. Let's say you even had to, the horror of horrors, do comedy. You have to make these people laugh, and then the door is going to move while you're on stage. If you had to face that kind of mortification, you would feel that physically, right? You'd probably feel butterflies in your stomach. Or if you've ever had to have a really difficult conversation with someone, or like you're meeting with a lawyer about something really serious, or you're waiting for a major medical diagnosis, you'll feel nauseated. You might have like diarrhea or something. That is because your brain can ping your nervous system with messages of danger, and then your nervous system in turn does control your body. Your nervous system can make real stuff, not just like making it up, like real stuff happen in your body. And the types of things that are common when you have endless like hidden danger signals hitting your nervous system, it is very common for this kind of stuff to manifest itself with the kind of unexplained, like not fully diagnosable conditions of, like, if you've ever thought you had a mold allergy, if you've ever thought you had a thyroid issue, fibromyalgia, if you've suspected you have Lyme disease, long COVID, chronic back pain, chronic headaches, interstitial cystitis, knee pain, carpal tunnel. All of these things are very, very common manifestations of funds. Jacked up nervous system, fired up nervous system. And I'm not saying that there's no physical basis. Also, maybe you are allergic to mold, but I'm talking about the situations where you are feeling horrible and you can't explain it. And it's like, okay, well, when I walk into this house, I feel horrible. But then I was in the other place and I felt better. And there may be situations where like you realize there is actual mold found in the house and they get rid of it and then you're fine and it never comes up again. In that case, maybe it wasn't funds. Maybe it wasn't your nervous system. But with most people I know who think they have a mold allergy, it's never really resolved. They're moving and they're changing and it's all this stuff. And it's like, maybe it's not the mold. I mean, keep exploring it for your safety, sure. But also consider that maybe you have some unprocessed thoughts that are constantly, unbeknownst to you, sending danger signals to your nervous system. And your nervous system is going absolutely freaking haywire. And it is causing physical symptoms such as unexplained fatigue, nausea, extreme brain fog, all this, all the aches and pains. And you can't, you're like, is it the mold? Is it my thyroid? I had my thyroid checked and they said it was normal. And, and I took the herbs and I did the essential oils and like, it kind of helped for a while, but now it's back. And it's your nervous system. Your nervous system is jacked up from unprocessed thoughts. I'm telling you. Now, I got some, so my latest hyperfixation is Nicole Sachs podcast. So Nicole Sachs, Sachs. She has a podcast called The Cure for Chronic Pain. She has a book coming out in February that I've got to get an advance copy. Would it be weird if I found out where she lived and showed up at her house? And but I would explain, like, I'm not being weird. This isn't like I'm not doing this in a weird way. I just want an advance copy of your book. I know you have some here at the house. So it's not weird. I'm just like, and also I think we should be friends. I think God wants us to be friends, but not in a weird way. It's just like, look, we all have Google. I can find your address. Like, let's not be weird about this. Just give me the book. I don't know. That's a plan. It's in the works. It's in the works. I think she might like that. I think she might. I think she'd be like, oh my gosh, you seem really cool. Like, let's hang out. That's how that goes in my mind. So she got diagnosed. The very first episode of her podcast is when she was 20. She was diagnosed with a degenerative spine condition. And she was told, sorry, you won't be able to live a normal life because you're just going to be in agony with your spine and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And of course, that sent her on an anxiety spiral. She was not really able to function for many years, but then she discovered this and she actually worked directly with Dr. Sarno. And through the stuff that I'm about to tell you about, through processing her unprocessed thoughts, she became pain-free. Like, even though she does have this condition, no one's saying that condition is like not real or she made it up. It is a diagnosed real physical condition. It's like I forget the name of it, but she says it. Just look up the first ever episode of her podcast. So she's like totally normal, pain-free. Like, yes, the condition is there, but it causes her no problems because she learned how to release the high tension thought fragments that were sending her nervous system into a pain spiral. So I've been binging her podcast, and this is like, I think, one of the coolest stories. We all know the song Fight Song, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I would play it if I weren't constantly getting dinged on YouTube for one thing or another. It was, this is my fight song. Like, we know that song, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So the singer of that song, Rachel Platten, she almost had to quit her career because of these chronic pain issues. She also ended up in massive chronic pain, and she reached out to Nicole Sachs, ended up on Nicole Sachs' podcast. And there's a moment I'm about to play for you with this clip that I just thought was so humble and so sweet. And whether you've been in this kind of pain, like just for a day or for years, I love it that there's a moment where she's like, I'm the fight song girl and I had lost my fight. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so sweet. Okay, so Caitlin, play. This is from Nicole Sachs' podcast. It is called The Cure for Chronic Pain. This is the Rachel Platten episode. So interesting. So play Rachel talking about how she's the fight song girl and she lost her fight.
So it was a brutal next 5 months because I had just come out of the hardest 2 years of my life of postpartum depression.
Yes.
And mental stuff.
Yeah.
And dissociating every day and panic attacks and insomnia and terrifying stuff that I had recovered, I thought I had recovered from. And then to deal with this was just I don't have any more. I don't have anything left. I don't have any fight left, from the fight song girl.
Yeah.
I was just nope. My life became the life that I've heard in so many of these podcasts of just nonstop appointments.
Yeah.
Nonstop physical therapy, nonstop focus on it. Waking up, doing the exercises to be okay.
Oh my God. It's like my story.
Yep. Yep. And the spasms were so crazy painful that I would sometimes, oh my God, I would lie on the floor and I would just be like, I can't live. I can't live like this. This is not a life.
Yeah.
This is not a life.
So that is season 3, episode 103 of the Cure for Chronic Pain podcast. And that just really hit me because when I was in the depths of my chronic pain, also couldn't get off the floor. My most salient memory is I was on the floor of my closet and I was in so much pain. I just couldn't go to the ER. I thought I might die. I mean, I was just like, I did natural childbirth once, just once, but I know compound presentation, natural childbirth. I know what 10 out of 10 pain feels like. And this was pretty dang close. It was horrific. And, I couldn't even be moved to try to go to the ER and I didn't know what was wrong. Doctors couldn't find what was wrong. I had a million tests. Everyone was there were all these theories of what was going on. Nobody could figure it out. And it was debilitating. I mean, it was obviously my family was supposed to be having dinner while I was doing this. It was embarrassing. My kids had a disabled mom. I mean, it was insane. And it was just insane because nobody could figure out what was going on. And so I remember during that time, I would listen to Fight Song. I was like, man, this is I need to take back my life, take back my life song. It meant so much to me. So to hear that Rachel went through the exact same thing, it had the exact same cause, and she got out of the pain largely. I have largely got, it's 99% figured out with both of us. Was crazy. I had no idea until I just heard that episode the other day. So I want to give you guys a couple of other examples of just the personality types. These are other excerpts from Nicole Sachs' podcast. Okay, so this one was, this woman is a scientist. I forget what kind. She's a microbiologist or something. And when she was in her 20s, she ended up straight up disabled. She was not able to continue her education. She couldn't get out of bed. Her mom had to take care of her. And it was the same thing Rachel dealt with, same thing I dealt with. This is Gigi. Caitlin, play Gigi's excerpt.
Treatment options are terrible. Quality of life is terrible. And by this stage, I could agree with all of that. I was totally bedridden. My mum was completely looking after me. I was unable to do any work, unable to do anything. And I basically fully given up on having a chance at a normal life, which is just so sad.
And how old were you at this point, Gigi?
This was when early 20s, so 20 or 21.
You guys, this is a baby, a sweet young baby who is not sure if she's going to have any quality of life at the age of 21. It is so imperative that people understand the power of nervous system dysregulation and what it can do to send signals to the brain, to send signals to the body of different pain and inflammation and things that you couldn't imagine.
Yeah, that's the thing. From all of the research I've done in the tension mind-body syndrome, you guys, you would be floored. You would be floored at the stories, just anecdotal, but from people who have, they have very compelling stories of we're not just talking about the occasional headache or back pain. I mean, we are talking about people with they were on disability. They were receiving disability checks for chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, mold allergy, or whatever. I mean, they were not functioning. And by the way, one of the things that originally put me on this, put this on my radar was Howard Stern talked about this. And when I was in high school, I read his book and I was like, and I always remembered that. But then way back in the day, Rosie O'Donnell had a producer she could no longer walk because she was so debilitated by so many things, but the doctor couldn't figure out what was going on. And the producer had to scoot around in a kind of a cart, like a modified wheelchair sort of thing, because she was no longer able to walk. And so Rosie O'Donnell just did a plea. She said, "We don't know what's wrong. If anyone can help us figure it out, please." She's losing her quality of life, that she's no longer walking. So this woman went and saw Dr. Sarno. Rosie did a follow-up. She came back, not only not in the scooter wheelchair thing, she did a cartwheel. She was like, I'm fine. I'm fine. And it was high tension thinking patterns that were sending subconscious, hidden, massive, overwhelming danger signals to her nervous system that was shutting down her body. Your nervous system will shut down your body if it thinks you're in enough danger. It will. And if you don't realize that your undiscovered thinking patterns are telling your nervous system that you are in mortal danger all the time, then it'll just keep happening. And your nervous system will be like, you need to not get out of bed because we just have a lot of danger here. And it's really actually brilliant the way it works. Okay, so that excerpt was from season 3, episode 33 of the Cure for Chronic Pain podcast with Nicole Sachs. All right, the final one is this gal. She had, how do you pronounce it? Plantar fasciitis. She had that so badly that she was set up for multiple surgeries. And when her son got married, she had to go to her son's wedding in a wheelchair. And she had also had some very, very serious back pain sort of things. Her name is Mouse. I love that. I thought that's such a cool name. So Mouse had to go to her son's wedding in a wheelchair and had all sorts of other pain. And what you're about to hear is her telling Nicole Sachs what happened when she finally saw Dr. Sarno. So years before she had seen Dr. Sarno, and her pain ended up coming back. That's how she ended up with Nicole Sachs to figure it out. She's pain-free, walking fine now, everything's resolved. But this is her story of how she first realized that this was a high tension thinking nervous system dysregulation issue. Go ahead.
And pills and medications and therapy and I don't know. I just had done all that, and he said that none of that was going to cure me. And I said, "Well, what is going to cure me?" And he said, "It's basically an inside job. You were repressing your emotions." And I said, "Well, not me. I don't have anything." He said, "You're repressing anger and fear." I said, "Me angry?" I said, "Dr. Sarno, look at me. You're not going to find a happier person than me." And he says, "Yeah, that's all bullshit." And I thought, "Whoa, this doctor is saying this to me?" And he said, "You are, my friend, are a giant cover up." And I said, "Cover up for what?" And he just said, "You're covering up all your emotions, and you're very good at it. And what's happened is your body has produced a physical ailment to take your attention off of what's really emotionally bothering you, what you're emotionally afraid to feel." Well, I wasn't even sure what he was talking about.
So that was season 1, episode 19 of Nicole Sachs' Cure for Chronic Pain podcast. Okay, so fascinating, right? And one of the theories is that, and by the way, there's not a ton of research on this. There is some, like with the knee surgery study, but you know why there's not? There's no money in it. Mm-mm. No pharmaceutical companies are going to make billions by telling people that your high tension thoughts that you are not processing are destroying your nervous system, which is causing you very serious physical ailments. There's no money in that because it's free. And it's actually pretty quick to resolve that once you realize it. So who's going to fund the studies? No one's going to fund those studies. There are plenty of studies on how does this pain med or that pain med or this allergy thing, because you can sell that to people and you can jack up the prices, but there's no money in teaching people how to process their high tension thoughts. So one of the personality types that is known that tends to have these kind of issues is the goodest personality type. And that would be the vast majority of my podcast listeners, you guys have major goodist personalities. It is very important to you to do the right thing, to get the gold star. Is that resonating? Is that sounding right? You want the gold star morally with all the work that you do. It's just like I want to be seen as being good. I am good. I am following the correct rules and I'm following them correctly. And I am good. I'm trying to do all of the right things and I have the right thoughts and I do the right. You're going to end up in so much pain with that kind of thinking, because here's why. When certain thoughts or emotions try to surface, you will reject them because that's not what good people think. A good person doesn't think that. And in fact, the mouse woman that was the last clip that I played, she was saying that as she began to process thoughts, some of the thoughts, just thought fragments, these can be things left over from childhood or just crazy thoughts or whatever. One of the things that came up for her is that she had some anger that she just needed to get out towards her parents. And she had never expressed that because her parents were good people. They were good parents and they sacrificed so much. They did so much for her. And so that was not an okay thought to say, hey, I'm actually, there's anger at my dad or my mom or whatever. She would repress that because that it's not an okay thought to think. And so it just remains in your subconscious, kind of boiling around back there. And it sends danger signals to your nervous system because you never got that out. You never processed it because that's not what good people think. Good people don't express anger at parents who did a lot for them. And again, as like I'll explain in a second, the stuff that you need to get out, it doesn't mean that it's your actual opinion. And Mouse said, she's like, I'm really not angry at my parents, but there was that, it was just like an old emotion that I just had to express and vent and just like, yeah, that situation, it made me angry. And then when she got it out, it's like, okay, all right, that's out. Like I had to express that, but I'm not generally angry with them. Here's the best example. And this was on a podcast. I couldn't find it, but I heard it might've been on someone else's podcast. But so a woman who had all this pain, I think it was back pain. She had like debilitating back pain, and it started a little while after her sister died, and there was some financial stuff that came with it. She was helping clean out her sister's house, and she lifted something, and so she always said, well, I was lifting something, cleaning out my sister's house, and it got to the point where I think she was on disability. So as she did this processing your, irrational thought fragments thing, the thing that came out for her was that there was this irrational, insane thought that you'll see why she never kind of brought up and processed, that she was angry at her sister for abandoning her because her sister had died of cancer. And obviously that is so illogical and silly. That's something like a 2-year-old would think, you're angry at someone who died of cancer for abandoning you. So of course that makes sense. She never allowed that thought to come to the surface. She never allowed those feelings to bubble up, because that's the thing. A lot of these unprocessed feelings that cause us pain, that ping the nervous system, that cause us to be in a state of funds, it's irrational. And maybe it is from like the inner child self or something, because it is like 2-year-old, 3-year-old level thinking to be mad at someone who died of cancer for abandoning you. But that's what she had to get out. So she was journaling, and that's what we're ultimately getting to here, is that is how you get the stuff out. You write it on pages that you then rip up so that nobody will see. Mm-hmm. And she just sort of had to word vomit that, like, my thoughts are telling me that my sister abandoned me. She abandoned me, and we have toxic parents, and now I'm left to deal with them. And she was my older sister, and she was my protector. And she would write crazy stuff like, I hate her for abandoning me. Does that mean that is her actual opinion? No, of course not. She is a sane, rational adult. She doesn't literally hate her older sister for dying of cancer, but there was some childlike place within her that had that feeling. And she had to bring it out into the light And then once she, wrote that down and kind of word vomited that all out, she was able to look at it and say, okay, whew, wow, that was in there. Ooh, that's okay. That's intense. But obviously I don't think that was just an irrational emotion, but I had to get it out. Long story short, also completely out of pain. Once she got those irrational thought fragments out of her system that were pinging danger to her nervous system. And that is so important to emphasize, that these things that you will be getting out, because I want you all to do this through a little bit of journaling, these are not your actual opinions necessarily. You might be like, I hate so-and-so, I hate them so much, just because that is an irrational 2-year-old level, toddler level emotion that is within you. You get it out. And then you can look at it and be like, okay, I do not hate that person. That was just like my inner toddler, I had to yell about that. And good. I'm glad it's out. And you just watch how your unexplained, undiagnosable medical mystery, aches and pains, you just watch how they dissipate when you start doing that. So the practice that Nicole recommends, it's called JournalSpeak. And so what you do is you set a timer for 20 minutes, and you kind of do need to hit that 20-minute mark, because otherwise you probably won't go deep enough. And the way I do it is I just kind of list what has been stressing me out recently in the past couple hours, even if it's small, just small stuff. And then I look at the list, and anything that kind of like I feel something physically, like I feel a little twinge in my stomach when I think of that one, even if it is the silliest thing. And that's what happened on the Yogurt and Journaling Village Hustle Patreon. Making yogurt should not be any source of stress for me, but it was. And I was like, all right, journaling, here we go. So I just start going on. I'm like, am I afraid of yogurt? Like what's, but I went on, and you'll see on the Village Hustle Patreon, it actually connected to me there. For some reason, my inner toddler connected the yogurt making process with this other irrational, just, fear and thought and some negativity and all this hateful self-talk that was in there. And this is all happening on the Patreon, which was a little embarrassing, but I was like, oh, okay, wow. Those were really like self-hating, self-condemning thoughts that were very intense and that were in there hitting my nervous system. And that's why I was feeling a ton of fatigue every time I went to make yogurt. Like it's so stupid. Like, why would I be hit with waves and waves and waves of fatigue? It's like making yogurt. I mean, yes, I suck at it, and my yogurt keeps being a disgusting blob that I don't think is really yogurt. And it's probably like, there's probably like Ebola in it because I made it wrong. But like, why would my body try to shut down my whole life over this? Well, journaling revealed exactly what that was. And that is what you will find. Now, if this comes up for you a lot, unexplained pain, again, you think you have thyroid, mold issues, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, stuff like that, you have to do this every day. I'm telling you, if you've ever believed anything I've said in this whole time on this podcast, do it 20 minutes a day. You can Google JournalSpeak is one word. Just type it into YouTube, whatever. But if you're someone who's like sane, like I don't, like Caitlin doesn't have a lot of this. She's sane. She's like a normal person. Caitlin, you might want to do it just if it crops up. Like next time you have, back pain and you can't figure out why, it doesn't seem to be, anything. No one like stabbed you or anything. You can't figure out what it is. Just try it next time you have an unexplained pain. So for my sane listeners, you might not need to do this right now. If you feel chronic, like tiredness, anxiety, just anything, in any way, shape, or form, if you feel worse than you should, physically, even mentally, and you have had this checked out and nobody can figure out why, do a little 30-day challenge. Do the JournalSpeak 20 minutes, set a timer, do not go lower than 20 minutes, journal it out. Let your inner toddler say the irrational, stupid, crazy stuff that you do not necessarily really believe, and that you would be mortified if anyone saw this. Let the inner toddler have their say, and then rip up the pages. No one has to see it. Hit delete on your computer file. Nobody ever has to see this. Just let it out. Let it be processed, and then leave an Apple podcast review being like, Jen's podcast changed my life. Yeah. It has made me hotter. It's made me hotter. It's made me a better person. I go to her shows. I buy 20 tickets to her shows. And you know what? because Jen changed my life. I'm going to start having Apple Podcast reviews like her episode 231, it changed my life so seriously. Like it just got me out of all of this chronic fatigue and tiredness and brain fog and pain and POTS and all of that I showed her how to get off the stage at her show. I did. I pointed. I was like, the door's over there. It's the door you came out of. This is really simple. And I did that for her because I care and I wanted to pay her back for changing my life. All right. I mean, we don't know how this podcast is free. We have our best men researching it. I'm funding $1 million study titled, How is Jen's Podcast Free? Omaha's coming. Who's Kansas City? I don't know. Look, jfcomedytour.com. Come to my show. Show me how to get off the stage. And we will be back next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.